Peggy 16.
Hi guys, Ricky Martin here in a very fancy cinema. Today I'm in Bristol at world-renowned animation studio Aardman. One of Aardman's current projects is a game collaboration between DigixArt Studio and Bandai Namco. More specifically, Aardman is designing and building the look that will set this game apart from anything else. Today we'll speak to art director Bram Tweem about the journey that led to the game's unique style. This is 1111, Memories Retold, behind the scenes.
I'm Bram Tweem and I'm the art director for 1111. So it's my job to design, tickle and tease the visuals until they convey the story and moods that we want. So when I first heard about the project and the fact that Johan was keen to use an artistic style, I got very excited about plundering art history. World War I is probably largely responsible for kickstarting much of modernism in the 20th century. So when we went to Puy de Fou in France, it was a good opportunity for me to get a feel for the scope of the story, and it did have quite an influence on the art style itself. Futurism and cubism I was very keen on because I liked the expressive nature and the rigidity of the styles. I did a couple of sort of tests on my own, and it's fairly soon it became quite apparent that because they were quite brutalist and quite minimal in their look, they might be associated with low poly kind of stuff, which is very prevalent in the gaming industry. So we wanted to get away from that, and it just seemed more sensible to go for a more seductive art form. At one stage we were thinking of perhaps pursuing Impressionism a bit more vehemently than we currently do, but as we were with the modernist movements, I decided it would be more sensible to not restrict ourselves in any way. So I decided to just pick a few painters that I like Turner, who was able to convey an awful amount of emotion and mood with very little detail. And then other painters like Monet, who've got a very interesting colour palette that they use. But beyond that, there was Alexander Petrov, who's a Russian artist who does oil on glass animations, and that in particular is a theme that we pursued when we were developing the shader itself. After this, we were lucky to work with artists such as Giorgio, who has a wonderful use of light and paint strokes to help us realise the look we were going for. We started wondering about the possibilities of how to move strokes, etc. within the game to highlight certain aspects of the game and what colours we could use to convey the moods correctly, and just the massive scope generally of this particular story. So we decided to go for something which is more just a painterly take on visuals. So what I'm hoping the players will feel once they've played this game is that they've engaged with two characters who've been through an awful lot. Both characters will change during the story, and I want the players to feel that they've travelled with them. I think the art style will help convey the emotional journey by the fact that we can use things subjectively. We can use our paint strokes, angles and colour palettes and our lighting, all sorts of compositional tools to convey more convincingly and emotively the themes. The art style makes me feel very excited and a little bit nervous. I'm excited at the prospect of being able to create something that's quite unique, I think. It's a really good opportunity to marry the practical skills together with the digital skills that I've acquired over the years, and also see what other artists bring to the table. I tried to move away from the Imperial War Museum piece a little bit. It was a touchstone for Johan, but I was hyper aware of the intense processing power that those sort of levels of effects tend to put on our systems, long render times. So I was concerned that the game engines wouldn't be able to handle it. So we decided to break it down into more fundamental ingredients from the oil on glass technique. It is very tricky to get an engine to perform what we're trying to do because there's a lot of performance overheads, and there's also just the fact that what we're trying to do is pretty uniquely human. So when a human's doing a painting, they make thousands and thousands of decisions about what marks to make, what colours to use, where to make the strokes, what directions they should flow in. And that's a massive challenge for a game engine. And that's the challenge we took on. How do we actually teach a game engine to paint?